Hello. Hi, ladies. My name is Alli Beck, and I am the owner of Alli Beck Design. I help women service providers and solopreneurs with their branding and their messaging and everything that goes into establishing a solid brand and websites and all that. So I'm excited to be here this morning. I got to be honest, I have been running like crazy to get here. My babysitter's been sick now for 2 weeks, and then my daughter just got sick last Saturday, and so it feels a little bit like Jumanji over here. I'm sure any of you mom entrepreneurs can relate to that. So anyway, I'd love to know who's here. If you could drop in a like if you can hear me, I want to make sure that I'm not just talking to an empty room and let me know what your business is and where you're at. Um, so anyway, like I said, I did want to come in and talk about this topic because it's so important. I was talking to my sister this morning, and I'm really passionate about it, and I feel like it's so important. I've really seen the difference that branding early, not often, makes in women service providers' businesses and sort of the arc of their growth. So just wanted to dive into that. So there's kind of a question that's common in business in general, and that's what comes first, the product, service, or the brand. So let me know what your votes are, what your preconceptions are about that. And I hear this all the time from business owners. It's like, well, I just need to get my services established. I just need to build up my client base, and then I can work on my brand. And the problem with that is there's a lot of things that kind of hold you back in that area. And so I wanted to tell you the story of two businesses. So have you all heard of Slack? So if you've heard of Slack, let me know. What about Hall? Who here, raise your hand if you've heard of Hall. So Hall was an enterprising message service that actually was established before Slack. They came out and they had great funding, they had a good product, had good features, but they sort of balked and were hesitant about the whole marketing and branding side. They really wanted to like get their product dialed in and make it perfect. And so they kept working on their product. And meanwhile, Slack comes out and it maybe didn't have all of the refined features that Hall did, but they just were off to the races with their brand. They established a cohesive brand. They figured out who they were talking to, and now Slack is everywhere, and it's something that people recognize. People know it, but Hall no longer exists. And so that's one of those examples just of like the power that branding can have just from the beginning. And that doesn't mean that you don't spend some time refining your services and finding your product and making sure that it is a valuable thing to your audience. But branding needs to be part of that conversation from the beginning. And here's some benefits that it has from branding right out of the gate. So number one, you're going to build the right audience. So the problem with not having a brand is that when you're out there talking to everybody, you're going to build an audience, but maybe they're not quite the right fit, or maybe they don't need what you have. And so you're growing this community of people, and then maybe 3 years down the road, you realize that like, well, they're not that engaged, or they don't really need me, or they're just not people that I'm excited to serve. And so then you kind of have to start from scratch and like redefine your audience and start building that audience instead. So it's great if you can do that from the beginning and just be able to build it one time. The second thing is that you're going to have an easier time explaining what you do if you've gone through a branding process, because part of branding is really getting clear on your messaging, on who you are and what you do, and defining that for your target audience. And so if you know all of those things, then you can just be very clear about that from the beginning, and it'll be an easier time talking about it. Also, you can raise your prices sooner. So people trust brands. They trust businesses that have brands more than maybe someone who's kind of all over the place, or it doesn't have like a cohesive message. And so those kinds of businesses can command higher prices. There's more value associated with someone who has established brand and a clear message. And then something that we've seen a lot with brands is that you'll actually build sort of a cult following. You know, if you've got this community of people that's really excited about you, who's like behind you, and they will market your business for you. So you don't have to work as hard, right? Like you can just see, it's amazing how there's like exponential growth because as we talk about the brands that we love and the people that we follow, then that they create more fans who then talk about it. And so that sort of builds on itself. And again, it's less work that you have to do. The next is that you will make fewer decisions. You'll have to make fewer decisions. And I know, like, as small business owners, we're all making 1,000 decisions about our business. We're trying to figure out, like, you know, what legal requirements do we need? Where do we do our accounting? How? What software do we need to buy? What, you know, who are our vendors? Like, all of these thousands of decisions that go into running a business. And if you don't have a brand, you're making new decisions every time you produce something for your business. So, like if you want a new business card or a new flyer, or every time you make a social media graphic, you're making those decisions as you go. And that's a lot more decisions than if you have a brand that's set for you and established, then you've got some of those made. And all you have to do is plug things in. The next one is related. You won't get get stuck making decisions on the fly. So without an established brand, you're sort of running by the seat of your pants, like I described. Like it's not comfortable, right? It's just trying, well, I think this is what works. I think this is what I want to do. But if you've sat and done the work from the beginning, you won't have to make those decisions as you go. They'll be made already, and you can just build from that. And one of the kind of worst things I see in this area is that when businesses make decisions on the fly about their website. And so it's one thing when it's a social media graphic, like, right? Like those kind of come and go, you know, every day you can kind of start fresh and they go away. But your website is something that you take a lot of time and money to establish. And so it's always kind of a shame when someone spends so much money, so much time in building their website, and then they go to do their brand and they have to redo their website. So that's why it's nice to have those decisions made, that your brand established before you do your website. That way you can just plug it into your website and it's done. And then the last thing is that branding builds your confidence. So all of us, I think, especially at the beginning, to some extent, struggle with a little bit of that imposter syndrome, right? Like you're like, well, who am I to be taking people's photos at a wedding? Or who am I to be writing people's copy? Or, you know, you just struggle a little bit like with the authority of that. But when you have a solid brand underneath you and you have a foundation that you can speak with, it just feels like you have more confidence and that you can speak, you can speak more to where people's pain points are, and you can feel more at ease as you are talking about your business. So the thing is, today's social media landscape, or just anything online, really, it's a very visual. People love stories. They love a community. There's all these micro communities all over the internet, right? And these things are just ripe for building a brand and making your brand like take hold of them and joining in and having a community that's rallying around you. And the really good example that I can think of lately is, has anybody heard of Virginia Kerr? So she is a video coach and she's relatively new to the scene. I think she's only been in business like a year, maybe year and a half. And when she first started out, like she kind of started out with like sort of the generic social media graphics, kind of like anybody else. And then she kind of switched it up. And then she went through that branding process and she just got locked into her brand. It's something that fits so well with her personality, and it really speaks to the people that she serves. And she has just exploded. Like her growth has been just astronomical. Like I think she's got like 365,000 followers on TikTok and 65,000 followers on Instagram. And people just love her. They love her brand. They love rallying behind her. And it's really fun for her. And she's talked about this, that, as she got her brand locked in, it's like she started to see this amazing growth and community. And obviously there's a lot of factors that probably went into that. I mean, she's done a lot of work, but certainly her brand was a huge part of that. So if you've never checked her out, check her out on Instagram. She's got some great tips on going live or speaking on video, doing reels, those kinds of things. And I'm not an affiliate, so here I am talking about her. So that's the example of the power of her brand. So one of the things that I hate to see businesses getting in the habit of is working on their brand, and then they sort of half brand, but then they kind of change it up, and then they to go in a different direction. They never really go through the thoughtful process of like having a strategy, and it really doesn't do a lot to build their credibility. And people are kind of confused, like, what do you do? And so it just is so powerful when you can start out. Like I know how it is. Like when you're starting a business, you're doing so many things, and so it is hard to know what to make a priority. And so I totally relate to that. But I would say that of all the things, spend some time on your brand. And I want to help you do that. And so I am having a free branding workshop tomorrow. So I can't believe it's actually coming tomorrow. I'm so excited. I've had a lot of women just sign up and start to really focus on their brand. And so I'm just really, really looking forward to this. It's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific. And I'm going to be talking about the 3 pillars of branding. And this is how to choose your target market and why that is so important. How to define your message and make your story shine through, and then choosing the aesthetics of your brand and sort of some of the elements that need to go into that. And so I would love to have each and every one of you. I have a link in the description of this slide that you can click on to go register, fill out your form, and you'll be signed up. And then tomorrow at 11 a.m., just join via the link. And like I said, I would love to see you there. Please drop any questions you have about the workshop or about branding into the comment section, and I will come back on here later and take a look. But I really enjoyed talking with you guys all about this, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Talk to you soon.